What a great week of basketball we have from Week 6 of Legacy Leagues. Here for the Postgame Show, I'm Sam Leventhal. This is Joe Catapano. Also here with Max Molski on the end. And this week's Postgame Show is brought to you by Ace in the Hole Total Home Care. Start off with the 8 o'clock games. What did you guys think? We have the Brotherhood and the Hateful Eight first.
Well, it was exactly what you expected of a number 1 team versus a number 10 team, the last place team in this league. It was all Brotherhood. Tyron Coward had 44 points. Russ Payton had 36 points and 11 rebounds. They put on a show, but Joey Marino put on quite a show himself on the Hateful Eight. He had a career high, season high, 31 points. Right after Stephen Petrai last week set a team record, I think it was 28 or 29 points. Marino kept getting fed, he was hot all night, it was fun to watch. And they put up 60 points for the second straight week. A little lack of defense from the Brotherhood throughout the game because they were up so much, but another fun offensive performance for the Hateful Eight, but a great offensive performance from the Brotherhood, and that's why they're the number 1 seed in this field right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to score 31 points if you're just hanging under the basket. I mean, apparently it was in homage to Tim Duncan, but he really didn't move outside of his own three-point arc for most of the game when he was in. But there was no Michael Davis for the Brotherhood, and it did not matter. It looked exactly the same as if he was there. Maybe fewer steals on the full court press, but it was total dominance, not even close from the opening tip.
Now to arguably the best game of the night, final in overtime, Waken Blake versus the Land. Waken Blake took that win in a 75-74 win. We see standouts from Brett Cody and Aaron Samuel. What's your guys' take on that game?
Brett continues to dominate for that team. I know they didn't have his brother Mike, which I think could have played a pretty big role down the end, because had they had him, they may have won. But Brett, I think he had 37 points and 17 rebounds and 7 steals, so almost another triple-double. I think it would have been in consecutive weeks. He's had a few of them. But it was a really good game. I remember watching it from court 2. That was it Aaron Samuels in his debut. He had a double-double. He had a game-tying dunk as time expired, maybe game-tying. It looked a little close there at the end, but the refs gave it to him, and they prevailed in overtime. I don't know what you saw, because you were also here in court 2.
That was a phenomenal overtime period. Brett Cody had a block on Samuel that shook the whole building. It was a monstrous block. Alec Ward on the other end hit an and-one layup, but it eventually wasn't enough. That was the most evenly matched game we've had all season, arguably, in the Legacy Leagues. It was fantastic.
What do you guys think we could see from these two teams for the rest of the season with the game this close? Are they going to finish close in the standings, and will they be towards the top?
It depends on Aaron Samuels and his upbringing through the Waken Blake. It was just his first game today. That team's going to rely on him just like they relied on Santorelli in the past. Aaron Samuels is going to have to be that guy, because there's no one really else that's dominant on that team. And for the Land, it's been Brett Cody. I know they have Alec Ward and Mike Cody, but they haven't dominated as much as Brett has. I don't know how difficult their schedules are down the stretch, but we'll see how they take advantage of a weaker schedule or match up against some of the better teams coming down the stretch and heading into the playoffs.
I think it's going to be interesting to see the Land when they play teams with a big guy, like a Mark Harrison or Rondell Jones, maybe even. But they don't really have height on their team, but they have a ton of athleticism, a ton of really good basketball players. And then for Waken Blake, I think it'll just be interesting. They might coast steady at about 500, but the Samuel acquisition or addition will be interesting for them going forward with the loss of Santorelli.
Now, I was over here on court 1, but we'll move to VSB and the Pandas. I think you guys said you saw VSB getting a little bit of foul trouble with Brolé and DiLeonardo foul out, was it?
Yeah, they both fouled out on the stretch. It was very interesting because the Pandas started with 4 guys, ended with 5, so you would have expected them to be the ones in foul trouble. But down the stretch, BSB had the foul trouble. DiLeonardo fouled out first with 6, then Brolé fouled out with his 6 just a minute later. And those foul shots down the stretch almost came back to hurt them. But I got to say, they played another pretty solid game. They hit the boards. They had some monster dunks from DiLeonardo. He was a huge spark plug for that team. His dunks were just monstrous. He was just a great motivator for that team. And John Lutters, who doesn't score a lot of points, I think he had 12 tonight with a barrage of threes. That team is just fun to watch because they're all close. Some of these other teams just have a few guys that are friends and another few guys that are friends, but this team is so close, and they're fun to watch. I don't know what you thought of that game.
Yeah, Lutters, he finished with 16 points, and he had a couple of like Paul Pierce-esque step backs for 3. that were really nice. He took a couple of charges that really energized BSNB. I think he might be, if we were to keep track of that, then he'd be leading the league in that, because he stays under there, and it really frustrates the other team. And BSB, they just tend to do that anyways. They're not the most intimidating team, and I think that really gets under other teams' skin, because they're 5-1 and they're rolling right now after a win against Sportslook last week.
And yet again, the Pandas can't field their full team. Again, no Jelon Mason, no Rondell Jones. They had Joe Spain, but he only had 16 points. He was unable to carry that team like I thought he could, and it was a disappointment performance from him. He just couldn't get it done down the stretch.
Yeah, I mean, he missed the shot at the buzzer, almost got it there. He had a clutch steal at the end of that game when they were down 3 off an inbound. Got it, turned, dunked, made it a 1-point game. Ended up fouling Lutters, who sank one of his 2 free throws, and then he hucked up the missed 3 to end the game. But I think we still know the problems with the Pandas, and I don't think I really learned anything different about them today than I had known about them all season long.
Now, you two voted in our previews this week for BSB to beat the Pandas, and they did. I, unfortunately, did not. I was the odd man out. And Vic, who was our compatriot, who was absent this week, also voted for BSB. Now, in a solid win this week, has BSB finally earned our respect that they're so commanded in the past?
At 5-1 at this point, I feel like they've played enough teams to earn our respect. They're 5-1. We're more than halfway through the season. Other than that game against N1, they've looked pretty solid against every team they've matched up with. They continue to hit the boards. They continue to control the pace of the game, play the style of play that they want to play, and they keep getting wins in the end of it. So congrats to them. They're 5-1. They're probably going to move up in my power rankings again this week. They've continued to impress me.
Yeah, they just take care of business. It's as simple as that. They just go out and they beat the team that's in front of them, whether they've gotten the best of the teams they face, could be questioned, but they've played great, and they've taken care of business, done their jobs.
Now on to Zoo Crew versus Run TMC. I know I was on court one for this game. Great game, great performance from Run TMC, all-around team performance. Got in the head of Zoo Crew a little bit. What do you guys think about that game?
Well, it was interesting to see. I thought Run TMC would go in. I don't really know how it played out because I wasn't watching the game, but I still find it interesting that Jack Holman, who was so great in the beginning of the season, he led the team with 14 points. Run TMC's scoring was mixed. Everyone had a few points. No one had a lot of points. It was probably interesting to watch just because they used their whole arsenal to not get a lot of points, but they relied on everyone to get that win. I know Zoo Crew had 12 turnovers. That probably played a big role in the game. The final score ended up being 52-41, so that probably did play a role in the game since they lost by 11. I don't know your thoughts on the game because I know me and Max didn't see it. I don't know if you have anything else.
Yeah, I mean, if you can control your cool and you can't control Mark Harrison, you have a pretty good shot at beating the Zoo Crew, and that's what TMC did tonight. Not a very explosive offensive performance by any means, but again, taking care of business, just seeing what's in front of you, making your adjustments, and then beating them.
And on to our nightcap, Sportslook versus N1. You both were there for that game. What do you guys think?
Just Brian Acevedo continues to carry that team. Coach Christie on the sideline still tells his team to clear out and give Acevedo space, and he did what he does. In the first half, he had a pretty slow first half, but he caught fire midway through that third quarter, made a string of incredible threes, and then he just started taking to the hoop, got some steals, and he really secured the win. I know they got out-rebounded a lot, though, and one hit the boards. They made it respectable, but I think the difference in them was that Jake Miko couldn't really hit a three. We've seen he's thrown up his 10-plus threes a game, and I only think he made 2 of them the entire game, none until the second half, and I think they could have won that game if those threes really hurt him in the end. I know Aaron Smith carried that team. He had another great performance. He kept N1 in it, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play more in the stretch because I think this was the first time I've seen him play since he joined the league.
Yeah, I think Aaron Smith is going to be a real difference for this team. I mean, next week we have the And1 Hateful Eight matchup between the 2 0-6 teams. I think Aaron Smith is going to be the difference in that game. And1's finally going to get that win next week. So I think and one is solidified itself as not being the bottom feeder in the Legacy League. So I think it's going to be interesting to see them going forward. Maybe they can play spoiler as the season closes.
Over there on the sidelines, I was talking to Waken Blake Steve Karipsky during that game, and it's weird because and one's 0-6. 0-6 now, right?
Yes.
But like they've seemed to hold their own for a lot of the games, because I know in the third or fourth quarter with the land last week they kept it close. This game versus Sportslook was very close. They seem to play up to some competition through halftime into the third quarter, and then just they can't finish. But it's been cool to see them like fight with the top competition, but then unfortunately they just can't finish it out in the end.
And we are almost out of time, but one team that you both are looking forward to seeing play next week.
I haven't looked at the matchups, but I want to continue to see Blood, Sweat, and Beers if they can keep winning. We all did not think they would be 5-1. They continue to do what they have to do, and I'm also looking forward to seeing if Pandas can finally get their big three all here, possibly big four if you can include Diaz, because I really want to watch that team play at full strength. It's disappointing that we haven't yet. I'm really hoping they can get their full team here.
I would have to say Run TMC. I talked to Cody DiLeonardo after the game, and he said that he was looking at TMC as one of those teams. Tyron Coward said that TMC was frauds, made that comment after his game. So I think that's going to be interesting because Run TMC had such a dominant performance in week 1, and they've come back with 2 more wins to go back to 500. I think that they're one of the teams to beat in the Legacy Leagues.
You guys heard it here first. The Brotherhood dominates once again. Brett Cody leads the land. BS&B earn our respect. Run TMC knocks off Zoo Crew, and Sportslook beats and 1 to finish off the nightcap. From Sam Leventhal, this is Max Molski, Joe Catapano. We'll see you next week for Week 7.